A few years back, my spouse visited my supervisor's home, and we ended up sidelining him due to his absurd antics. This incident happened when I had just landed a fantastic new job that thrilled me. I was eager to build a connection with my boss, so when she invited me and my husband to her place for a meal, I was mostly overjoyed. However, my husband, bless his heart, has a knack for doing foolish things, which made me nervous about him tagging along. By the time the dinner date rolled around, my anxiety had spiked so much that I tentatively suggested to my boss that he might not be able to attend. She seemed startled and replied, "Oh, I hope he can make it. I've prepared a meal for 3. Seeing her disappointment, I quickly reassured her that he'd likely show up. We arrived at her apartment on schedule and things kicked off surprisingly well. It was just the 3 of us, which caught me off guard but eased my worries about my husband, as large groups tend to amplify his erratic behavior. I was just beginning to unwind, savoring a perfectly cooked steak when disaster struck. My boss had stepped into the kitchen to check on dessert when I caught something odd in my peripheral vision. It was one of those moments where you sense something bizarre but need to focus to grasp it. I glanced at my husband and saw him gripping his steak in his hand, holding it just above his plate. Before I could process or say anything to prevent the impending catastrophe, he hurled the steak like a pitcher throwing a fastball right at the dining room window. It smacked the glass with a loud thud and slid down slowly. Now my husband is known for silly actions, as I've mentioned, but he's not unhinged. Usually his foolish moves have some logic, a thread of reasoning I can follow. This time, I was utterly baffled. I couldn't believe what I'd witnessed, my mind struggling to make sense of it. I stared at him, my face likely a mask of bewilderment, while he looked back, his expression one of sheer panic. I had no time to unravel the situation, as I heard my boss's footsteps approaching, drawn by the noise. The reality hit me. It didn't matter why he did it. He had done it, and we were about to face an excruciatingly awkward moment. A flash of frustration surged through me, and for a split second, I considered helping him dodge the fallout. But there was no salvaging this. My boss walked in and spotted the steak sprawled on the windowsill. A painfully long silence followed, all of us frozen in place. My boss and I locked eyes on my husband, silently demanding he explain himself as the tension hung thick in the air. Finally, he stammered some nonsensical excuse about being clumsy and even tried to rope me into supporting his flimsy story. I stayed silent, letting him flounder in the uncomfortable void. He made a half-hearted attempt to wipe down the window and retrieve his steak. Thankfully, my boss shifted gears, asking me about work, and we both eagerly latched onto the topic. For the rest of the evening, we acted as if my husband wasn't there, an unspoken pact to move past the debacle. The moment we got to the car, my husband turned into a nervous chatterbox, scrambling to justify himself. Apparently, the fool didn't like how his steak was cooked, too rare. And believe it or not, he thought the window was open. Yes, my husband, in his infinite wisdom, decided the best solution to an undercooked steak was to toss it out a third-story window. To clarify, no, my husband isn't on the spectrum or unhinged, though I understand why this story might suggest otherwise. His usual antics are more run-of-the-mill impulsiveness, like blurting out slightly inappropriate comments. That wouldn't have fazed me. This, however, floored me because he doesn't typically do things that seem outright deranged. Some seem to misinterpret my comment about his frequent dumb actions as meaning he regularly does insane things, but I meant the opposite. Oh well, I'm glad most of you found a bit of amusement in this tale. We all have our quirks. I tease him about his impulsiveness, and he pokes fun at my obsession with others' opinions of me, and so it goes.